certain elected people, and I prefer to say people
Yes, yes.
versus officials, certain elected people bank on
Yes.
that non-civic engagement or keeping the populace ignorant. And when you keep a populace ignorant, and again, let's focus on Cleveland, which is a predominantly black and brown town, and you hear certain elected people, banter about, well, Juneteenth, slavery, all this, and whatever. When you keep somebody ignorant, you're making them your slave.
Yes.
I want to have an informed population, because the more informed you have people, the better off your city will grow. And and I'm not here to advocate for one body. There's a movement afoot now called public budget.
Yes, yes.
And
join that group. And keep up to date on what they're doing.
Right. I know 2 or 3 people who are intimately involved in it, and now they circulating petitions to get on the ballot for a referendum. This never would have happened.
Yes.
If city council would have listened to the citizens of Cleveland.
But even last year, weren't they even sort of opposed to this and funding this and saying why should they pay people to be basically doing their job? And they went through, like when I was growing up, I volunteered and I did this, and so people should pay and blah blah blah.
Well, city council did do that. In the mayor's budget, he had a marked budget line for public budgeting for $5 million. And city council basically came back and said, we're not going to do that. We're elected to do that. And
right.
Let me be out front here. Money is probably a destroyer in politics.
And again, being civically engaged, when you have these thoughts, ideas, you're probably not the only one. And there's public accountability for the budget, for police, all of this stuff. This is why these organizations come about. And that's how you learn about the thing. Maybe you don't care about that so much, what you're talking about. But do you care about healthcare? And that's how you get the change, is you get together enough people that are civically engaged, that understand the issues, and say, this is what we want, and hold them accountable.
And again, I agree with you without any hesitation. What we're seeing, and everything is cyclical.
Yes.
And since you and I are both in our 20s, that's a stretch. I vividly remember a gentleman by the name of George White. He was our councilman back then, and it was called Ward 13. And Judge White, give him all due respect, he literally walked the streets.
Yes.
And I walked the streets with him, with the judge, and David, his son, because we were the same age. And I saw him interact with the residents of Ward 13. And George listened. And every time we would leave somebody's house, we might 2 doors down, or maybe another block, he would stop and ask his son David and I, what did you learn?
Right.
He said, tell me what Mrs. Smith or Mr. Johnson just said. What's their concern? And we had to not, repeat it verbatim, but we had to remember what they said. And George would take us to city council meetings.
Right.
And he stood up there and he said, well, my residents in this street or Mr. Johnson, whatever, said this. This is what they're saying. This is what they want. And that's what I learned from him, along with some other personal experiences, professional experiences. See, what, and using this term, civic engagement, was disappointing. We have, as voters, become laissez-faire.
Yes.
Become lazy.
Yeah, and that's my point. People think that, again, this is the Black Anthropy Show. Today we are talking about voting plus civic engagement. You need both. Citizens should not leave it to elected people who are making a bunch of promises, and then we hold our fingers and go off and live our lives and hope over the next 2 years that they do what they're supposed to do. This is the Black Anthropy Radio Show, and today my
all candidates have a platform separate from myself. I have a platform too. See, one of the things that's important, I think, should be for everybody who's elected office, you should look at the health and welfare of your citizens. You should look at the safety of your citizens. And you should look at the growth of your citizens. And health and welfare, basically, you have health department in Cleveland is the healthcare mecca, quote unquote, in the United States. But this is one of the most unhealthiest populations in the country. So what are we doing for access to health care? Just not, and I'm not trying to, by any means, demean the 3 healthcare enterprises here in the city. What are we doing to get that information out? There's, we talk about safety. Yes, we're talking about the police force, fire department.
Right.
When you dial 911, and let me be candid with you, the best run department in the city of Cleveland is the fire department. You dial 911 and say I got a fire, the pumping truck shows up, hook and ladder. They put hook up water, blow the smoke out, and they leave. You should not dial 911 and the dispatcher says, well, the police will be there in 2 hours. And,
right.
One of the prevailing issues here in the city of Cleveland is, well, we're losing police officers. We have a problem recruiting. You often hear in these committee meetings that, well, so is every city.
Right.
Now, I'm going to sound very selfish.
In every department.
Well, I'm going to sound very selfish here. I really don't care what happens in L.A. or Detroit.
Right.
Because I don't live there.
Right. And they don't care what happens here.
I live here.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Again, we don't specifically at a high level. The safety forces, more so the police department, were assured of bonuses back in last year. It was October time frame. That money has not been given to those officers as of yet. You don't recruit police officers by offering them a $3,000 signing bonus.
Right.
You don't recruit police officers by saying, well, you make $53,000 when you leave the academy, but with your overtime and this and that and this and that and other items, you might make up to $7,000. Well, maybe I don't want to work overtime.
Right.
Yes, I can go to Beechwood and start off at $65,000.
Right.
And quote unquote maybe be in a safer environment. When you, again, your experiences teach you certain things.
Exactly.
I recruited professional people, physicians, doctors, dentists, nurses, etc., and some other low-level staff people to come into the military. And we did offer them significant signing bonuses.
Right.
For the medical community, it's called professional. I can speak personally.
Right.
They wiped my education debt. They said, if you sign on this line today, we'll pay off all your student loans. And I ran out and bought 2 new pens just to make sure they both work. But these are things that, as a civic-minded person, we don't understand because we don't want to. And I agree with you. We want to download our responsibility or offload our responsibility to somebody else.